In the late 1990s, wrestling entered an era of unfiltered chaos. ECW had made hardcore wrestling the hottest thing in the business, while WWF turned it mainstream with Mick Foley, tables, and 24/7 madness. Then, there was WCW, forever a step behind. Their answer? The WCW Hardcore Championship, a title born in mayhem, buried in comedy, and remembered for all the wrong reasons. In this video, we will explore the rise and the fall of WCW's Hardcore Championship. From the violent beginnings to Norman Smiley's screaming comedy, to Terry Funk's attempts at legitimacy and the belt's absurd final days. Let's break it down. The WCW Hardcore division began not with the championship belt, but with the trophy. On July 11th, 1999, at Bash at the Beach, WCW debuted its Junkyard Invitational. This wasn't a wrestling match. It was a chaotic, poorly lit brawl inside of an actual junkyard. The rules were simple. Survive. 14 wrestlers beat the hell out of each other in a pile of rusted cars, broken glass, and flaming barrels. Fit Finley, the grizzled veteran, emerged victorious after climbing out of the junkyard. But there was a catch. Instead of a championship, Finley received a trophy, and that trophy wasn't long for this world. In the weeks following his win, Finley suffered a serious leg injury caused by the very dangerous conditions of the match. WCW was left trophyless and championless. The Junkyard Invitational symbolized everything wrong with WCW's hardcore division. Flashy on the surface, but chaotic and dangerous underneath. It was clear they were copying WWF's hardcore style, but without any real thought behind it. It would be 4 months after the Junkyard Invitational when WCW would finally establish a real hardcore championship. At WCW Mayhem on November 21st, 1999, Norman Smiley defeated Brian Knobbs to become the first official WCW Hardcore Champion. But instead of a serious title, WCW took a hard left turn in a comedy. Enter Norman Smiley, a talented technical wrestler turned comedic icon. Smiley didn't embrace hardcore wrestling, he ran from it. Literally. In match after match, Norman screamed in terror, donned full football gear to protect himself, and used slapstick tactics to survive. The crowds loved it, even if it completely undercut the idea of a hardcore championship. Despite the comedy, Smiley holds the record for the most days as champion at 96 days. His matches were chaotic, filled with mop buckets, trash cans, and a lot of screaming. On one hand, Smiley made WCW Hardcore must-watch TV. For comedy fans, at least. On the other hand, it proved that WCW wasn't taking their hardcore division seriously at all. While Norman Smiley brought laughs, Brian Knobbs brought pain. The former Nasty Boy was tailor-made for the hardcore scene, thriving in matches filled with chairs, tables, and chaos. Knobbs became a 3-time hardcore champion, a record that he shares with Terry Funk. His matches were wild brawls that often spilled into backstage kitchens, parking lots, and beyond. Brian Knobbs embodied what hardcore wrestling could have been for WCW. A gritty, unpredictable style that stood apart from your traditional matches. But even he couldn't save the division from its inconsistent booking. Just when you thought that WCW couldn't get any weirder, they let 3 Count, a boy band parody, collectively defend the Hardcore Championship. Yes, 3 guys, 1 belt, no rules. Well, Freebird Rules. Their matches turned into absurd free-for-alls where 3 Count swapped in and out of brawls, using their sheer numbers to retain the title. It was silly, confusing, and it was pure WCW nonsense. At this point, the WCW Hardcore division was less about competition and more about spectacle, and not always the good kind. If anyone could save WCW's Hardcore division, it was Terry Funk, a man who was the very definition of hardcore wrestling. Funk became a 3-time champion and brought a level of intensity that the title desperately needed. Funk's reigns were short, but they were memorable. He brawled through locker rooms, parking lots, and anywhere that a fight could happen. For a moment, Funk made the title matter. But leave it to WCW to undercut it all. On an episode of Nitro, Eric Bischoff defeated Funk. Yes, Eric Bischoff. The belt was later handed to Big Vito, further proving that WCW had no idea what to do with it. In July 2000, Lance Storm briefly held the WCW Hardcore Championship during his dominant run in WCW. Known for his technical style, Storm humorously renamed the title the Saskatchewan Hardcore International title, or SHIT for short, blending his serious persona with WCW's late-era absurdity. Though short-lived, his reign added a memorable and comedic twist to the title's history, highlighting WCW's unpredictable final years. But it does say a lot that the most memorable part of his title reign was the name change. The WCW Hardcore Championship's final chapter came at WCW Sin on January 14, 2001. Ming defeated Crowbar and Terry Funk to win the last hardcore title match in WCW history. Shortly after that, Ming left WCW and showed up at the WWF Royal Rumble, bringing the belt's short and chaotic legacy to an end. Later that year, WWF would acquire WCW along with the belt, but the championship never appeared on WWF TV. It was last said to be on display at WWE headquarters. The WCW Hardcore Championship was never supposed to be funny, but thanks to comedy booking, bizarre champions, and WCW's chaotic decline, it became an unintentional punchline. What do you think? Was WCW's Hardcore Championship a failure or a hidden gem of wrestling comedy? Let us know in the comments, and hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into wrestling history.